What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be talking about what I think is the best spray weapon or the best shotgun follow-up weapon in Chapter 4 Season 3. As always, if you guys do find this video helpful or informative, give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, and comment down below what your favorite spray weapon has been so far. So I feel like this season actually has a lot of solid choices for a spray weapon, and it's a lot more even, I feel like, than past seasons have been. We've had the regular SMG, the Combat SMG, the Flapjack rifle, the tactical pistol, and shadow tracker pistols, and some people even just use the MK Alpha as their spray weapon. So there's a lot of choices, and I feel like a lot of them are somewhat comparable. I don't think there's any like just undisputed like worst and like best. It's very up in the air, and it's going to depend on like your preference and your playstyle. As far as just like damage output goes and being able to eliminate your opponent the fastest, the Combat SMG is going to be the best. It has the highest DPS, but I feel like DPS can be a very misleading stat because it only takes into account the weapon's ideal conditions and not like how limited it can be or like the drawbacks of using the weapon. Like the Combat SMG, if you're a controller player like I am, and I'm sure many of you are because my channel is overwhelmingly controller players, this weapon has like very little to no aim assist while hip firing this season. I'm not really sure why. It wasn't like this in Chapter 3. I'm not sure if it's bugged or they just nerfed it heavily, but if you're playing on controller, the Combat SMG has basically no hipfire aim assist, and it also has a lot of recoil, which makes it very inconvenient to use. I really enjoyed this weapon in Chapter 3. I feel like the recoil was controllable, but no aim assist on a gun plus a lot of recoil. The no aim assist alone would make a weapon not very appealing for controller. But those two things together, I feel like just make this not a very consistent weapon or if you're a controller player. If you're a keyboard player, this is probably going to be the best bet, although there are other choices that are good. But if you're a controller player at this point, I would probably recommend just not using the Combat SMG unless Epic ends up patching it and you watch this video a bit down the line. But as of the time I'm recording this video and early on in the season, I feel like if you're a controller player, the Combat SMG is one of the worst choices. And that is one of the reasons why I said like DPS can be misleading, because like it does have a very high DPS, but if you're not hitting any of your shots, it's not going to matter. And it also doesn't have the best range, and it's not the most consistent for a lot of people because of that recoil. Someone who's able to control the recoil and be perfect with it is going to do very well, but for a lot of people, the Combat SMG probably isn't going to be the best choice. And that's kind of like what I talked about in my shotgun video earlier this season, where I said the drum shotgun is the best choice for most people, just because it's the easiest to use and most consistent. Most players are going to get the most value out of that. So the Combat SMG, it's up there. It's very good if you're a very skilled keyboard player, but if you're a controller player or you're just not the most mechanically gifted, this probably isn't going to be the choice for you. The tactical pistol and the shadow tracker are both really good, and if you were unaware this season, the shadow tracker is now fully automatic, so it's a very similar weapon to the tactical pistol. The shadow tracker is basically a mythic tactical pistol with a suppressor, and it marks people. So if you're rolling augments, you kind of have two chances at it. You can get Tracker's Armory, or you can get the mythic tactical pistol, and they're very similar weapons, and if you enjoy using them, they're very good. Unfortunately, pistol amp isn't in the game, so it kind of deters me from using it just because of how annoying it can be to run out of bullets or to get third party to need to reload the pistol. It does have a fast reload, but I really wish we had pistol amp in the game. I feel like these would just be far and away the best choice if that was the case. The regular SMG and run and gun SMG are also solid. The run and gun SMG is just like an upgraded version of the normal SMG. It just does like slightly more damage and has the slap effect. They're both really good. I feel like these are just like the vanilla spray weapon. It's not too broken. It's not too good. It's just kind of there. It's a solid choice, and it is what it is. So the regular SMG, that's what it is. Now we're going to get to what I think is going to be the best choice, and that is going to be the Flapjack rifle. I'm sure a lot of you have been using this, but I'm also sure a lot of you wouldn't really think to use an LMG as your follow-up weapon because you think of it as slow and clunky. But this weapon actually has a fine swap time. It doesn't feel slow at all like the Havoc AR did last season, and it kills really fast. It is the slowest fire rate of all the weapons I just named, but it also has the highest damage and very minimal bloom, meaning it like if your aim is on point, you're going to hit your shots. And that's another reason why I said DPS could be misleading. This might be lower on DPS, but if it's the most accurate and it still has, solid damage and like okay fire rate, you're going to kill really fast with it because you're going to be hitting more of your shots. And it has an insane headshot multiplier at 50 plus damage for the legendary and mythic versions, meaning if you have very good aim and you're able to hit headshots, you're just going to nuke people down with this weapon. And if you are weapon cycling between a pump and this, you pump them, swap to this, maybe hit like a body shot, a headshot, another body shot or something, that's a lot more damage than you're going to get out of some of the other spray weapons in that similar amount of time. And I feel like that is kind of the context you want to think of your spray weapon as. We've talked about it so many times on this channel, but you use your spray weapon for the most part to fill the void between shotgun shots. If you're going to pump somebody and then just swap to a spray weapon and stay on that, that's a pretty risky playstyle to have right now because the drum shotty is so good. Like if you're using the pump and a spray weapon, you have to play very well and you have to get that swap timing down pretty much perfect, or you're probably just going to get outgunned by the drum shotty. So I feel like I said earlier on in the video, there's a lot of good choices this season. I don't think any one is wrong, but if you've been kind of ignoring the Flapjack rifle, I would definitely recommend trying it because of the damage output, like I said, is very good, and the accuracy of it is surprisingly good. I was very surprised to see that like this LMG not only pulls out just fine, but also has a very good hipfire. Like it's not really what you would expect most of the time out of an LMG, but I feel like the hipfire accuracy on this weapon is incredible, and it has a very good range, which is important because of shockwaves being back in the game. If you're fighting somebody who shockwaves like straight up, you can just beam them with this weapon. It doesn't matter. Whereas like some of the SMGs and the pistols might falter a bit at that range. If you're fighting somebody that shockwaves away from you, that can matter as well. And I feel like just in general, I don't want my shotgun fights to be like within 2 meters this season. Like obviously even the Havoc pump has a very limited range, but if you're able to play like, 5 to 8 meters on your shotgun fight, it kind of reduces the effectiveness of the drum shotty, I feel like, and the Flapjack rifle also plays into that very well, and it also has a very high magazine count, like I said. I don't know if I said that already, but it has huge mag at 45, so it's the highest magazine count of any of these weapons, and that can matter for, spraying out, cover that people have when they shockwave away, when they shockwave to you, if they use cars. There's a lot of things that people are doing this season, and I feel like the Flapjack rifle kind of plays against it better than some of the other weapons. And I also find the MK sometimes running out of ammo before I'm able to get a kill. This isn't a problem I had as much with the Red Eye, but the MK is not as good as the Red Eye, I would say. And so if you get someone incredibly weak with your MK, but they're not super far, like let's just say they're like 20, 30 meters away, you can swap to your Flapjack and just beam them, no problem. Like it's an AR at the end of the day. It does that quite well. And it has a very minimal bloom. So even though it's a third-person weapon, it's very accurate. If you're someone who enjoys sniping, I could definitely see a loadout of Havoc pump, Flapjack rifle, and sniper, and then like your mobility and heals or whatever being incredibly good, because you could use the Flapjack not only as a spray weapon, but also as like kind of a medium to long range weapon if you are okay like using the third-person ARs at those ranges. I feel like this weapon is kind of slept on, but it kind of isn't. I feel like it really depends on the player base. Like there's a lot of players that know how insane this weapon is, but while streaming, I still get asked pretty regularly like why I'm using an AR or an LMG as my spray weapon rather than an SMG or a pistol. And it's like, I feel like in Fortnite, it's best to not really think about the type of weapon it is, just like what ranges it's good at and what role it can fill in your loadout. And I feel like the Flapjack rifle is actually very underrated as a spray weapon, especially if you're on controller, because the Combat SMG has no aim assist. If they fix the aim assist with the Combat SMG, I could definitely see myself taking that instead and using that. But if you're a controller player and the lack of aim assist is like making it very inconvenient to use that weapon, or just its recoil is making it very inconvenient to use, I think the Flapjack is actually really, really solid choice, and it is a lot more versatile than the Combat SMG, and that can come into effect a lot of times with the shockwaves being added back. We get into a lot more like volatile fights, I guess would be a way to say it. Like before shockwaves are in the game, if you were having a close range fight with somebody, you were having a close range fight with them, and that's fine. Whereas now they might shockwave away, they might shockwave you away from them. There's a lot more kind of going on in the fights, and I feel like I do kind of value that added range of the Flapjack rifle more now. But let me know down in the comments below what your favorite spray weapon has been. It's also the choice of just running no spray weapon at all and using something like the drum shotty and the exotic Maven, kind of like I said at the start of the video. These spray weapons are all pretty solid. Like if someone tells me on the video they like the tactical pistol, I don't think they're crazy for that. If they like the normal SMG, it's solid. Or you could just run none and use a drum shotty. There's a lot of choices in what you could use this season, but if you haven't really tried the Flapjack rifle as a spray weapon, I would definitely recommend it. I've been having a lot of fun, and the bloom on it makes it so satisfying to use because you don't really have to worry about just getting bloomed out of a fight and like having good aim but missing a lot of your shots still. But that is going to be it for this video. Let me know down in the comments below which one you prefer. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.